What's going on, Dungeon Divers? Draco Invictus here, and we are in Protector's Enclave here in Neverwinter. There's the fireworks. Wow, nice firework dragon. The celebration of Lyra is going on right now. It's essentially a tie-in for the 4th of July for the United States. You know, there's fireworks, and it is perpetually night with a big-ass moon up there. And you get to run around and do all kinds of cool stuff. And yeah, I say cool stuff. You run around collecting fireworks, and then you go put them on this platform. You have a 10-minute window, and then you get rewards for doing that. So I got my rewards already this time. But this is not why we're here today. I want to get down to basics with Neverwinter. Because, you know what? I've looked on YouTube, and there isn't a whole lot for the new player. Because, frankly, it's all the YouTube videos are all about, hey, here's my kick-ass level 70 character, and here's all the gear that you wish you had that I have on mine. That's essentially what all these character builds are. So, but there's no one talking about the basic mechanics. If you've never played an MMO, if you've never played Dungeons & Dragons, this could all be very scary and frightening. I mean, for instance, let's come in here and just look at the campaign list. Starting up here at the top, Sleeping Dragon Bridge is the first campaign that you get, or the first mission that you get. And there is a bunch of stuff, and there are missions in each one of these zones. This is essentially what this is. You know, so the Sleeping Dragon Bridge is a zone, and there may be 2 or 3 missions on there. But as you get into, like, the Tower District, there's probably 20 missions in there that different people will give you. You know, the Plague Tower, there's more, you know, and on and on and on and on. And then you get into, once you hit level 70, then you're just starting. Or level 60, rather, because then you have these 3 to do between 60 and 70, and these are full-on campaigns. Now, if you've never played Dungeons & Dragons before, you would sit down and play a module, and a module would typically take 1 or 2 nights, whereas a campaign would be a series of modules that goes on for weeks or months. And I'm talking of the old tabletop dice rolling, you know, paper and pencil Dungeons & Dragons. That's what I'm talking about. So campaigns were rather large. These are no different. These are immensely huge. For instance, real quick, before we get into the character creation, in Tyranny of Dragons, this block that I'm working on the... you have to complete it 3 times. Each time you do it, it's 20 hours. And what you have to do is you have to go out and get these requirements down here to even start it. But once it starts, then it's 20 hours, and then you can move on to the next one. And that has 3, you know, times that you have to do it with requirements. And then this one has requirements. And then over here, these have requirements, and yada, yada, yada. And you can see that this thing is rather large. Okay? It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be huge. Okay? I told myself I wouldn't start making any videos until I was at a point where I could buy more character slots. And if you've seen my video on pay to win, on whether this game is pay to win, and I told you that I was a firm believer that it was not. Well, the currency that is required to buy a new character slot is called Zen. It's one of many currencies within the game. Zen is the currency that Cryptic or whoever... It's what they use to... It goes across all their games. So if you're playing Star Trek Online, you could use Zen. If you're playing Neverwinter, you could use Zen. You know, they have several different MMOs that you could use. So you start the game with 2 character slots. Okay? The first thing I did when I built up enough Astral Diamonds, again another currency, was I then bought more slots. Because normally right here, it would say buy more slots and have a little Zen icon. Well, last night, I made enough that I bought more character slots. And because I wanted to do this video just starting out. Hey, we're just starting this game. I've never played any of this before. What the hell is this all about? So since you can see I already have 2 characters that I'm building, I needed another slot to make this video. So today, this video is all about that slot right there, that create new character. So we're going to go through the races, the classes, the stats, all of that stuff. It shouldn't take too terribly long. And hopefully, at the end, you have a much better understanding of what the hell it is that you're doing when you're creating your first character in this free game that will literally offer you thousands upon thousands of hours of game time that you don't have to put a dime into. Oh, and by the way, it costs 500 Zen to buy these 2 character slots. In the real world, 500 Zen is $5. Okay, 100 Zen equals $1. You can look it up. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. The Zen pricing is the same. And sometimes they even offer cheaper. And that's what I did. I got a 20% off coupon for more character slots. So instead of 500 Zen, it only cost me 400 Zen. Because I'm a frugal bastard. And I want to make sure that I'm getting the most for my Zen or my buck, as it were. So let's jump right into the character creator. We're going to go ahead and skip this video. We don't need that. Okay, now they kind of do this backwards. Okay, because here you get to pick your race, right? But the problem is that your race isn't going to really determine how you want to play this game. Sure, it's going to have a certain say because there's certain racial abilities for each race. But, and why I say that's backwards is you need to know what your class is and stuff like that so that you can figure out, okay, do I want to take the half-orc that offers me a +2 dexterity and either +2 constitution or strength, but is that good for a wizard? Well, I can tell you now that it's not. But you don't know that if you're first time coming in. Okay, wizards have specific ability scores that they look for. A half-orc doesn't really fit that bill. Am I saying that you couldn't play a half-orc wizard? Absolutely not. You can play anything you want, but you're not taking advantage of the ability score bonuses that you're getting for being a half-orc by playing a wizard. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's just go through these are the races that come out of the box. There's a race called the Dragonborn that look very cool, but they cost Zen. So you're not going to be able to get that out of the box unless you pay real money. And again, it's 2,500 Zen for the pack, so it costs you $25 to get a new race in the game. And they look very cool, don't get me wrong. But let's just go through the basics here. Okay, so this is your human. Okay, it's us. Your defense is 3% higher. You get a +2 to any one ability score. So that's +2 to strength or dexterity or intelligence or whatever. And then you get heroic effort. You gain an additional heroic feat point at levels 10, 15, and 20. Certainly has its benefits. Our half-orc friend here that we looked at before, Furious Assault, his critical severity is 5% higher than that of other races, which means that when he hits hard, he hits even harder. Okay, and he causes deal more damage when you deliver a critical strike. His ability scores are +2 to dexterity and either +2 to constitution or to strength. And then he gets a 10% bonus to speed run for 3 seconds when you enter combat. Okay, I'm just going to go over the highlights. A Wood Elf gets a critical chance of 1% higher, a +2 to dexterity, and +2 to intelligence or wisdom. You have 10% resistance to effects that slow your movement. Okay, so the Wood Elves lived in the woods. The Sun Elves did not. They were more the regal elves, if you were. So they get inner calm. You know, so you get more action points. You gain 2% to intelligence and either 2 to dex or charisma. and your grace increases your resistance to control effects. Okay, control effects are things that would stop you, like a wizard that casts like an entanglement on you that would stop you. That's a control effect. So you have a resistance to that just by being a sun elf. Dwarves, you have a 20% increased resistance effects to knock and push. You get a +2 to Constitution, either +2 to Strength or Wisdom, and you have a 10% increased damage resistance to damage over time effects. Damage over time effect, or a dot, is something that, let's say, a wizard casts a spell, and over the course of 10 seconds, you get damaged every 2 seconds. Well, now you have a 10% increased damage resistance to that. Halflings, cute little bastards. Nimble reaction, they get a deflection chance 3% higher. Means that they can deflect a incoming attack easier. They get +2 to dexterity and either +2 to charisma or constitution, and their fearless nature gives you resistance to control effects by 10%. Half elf grants +1 to non-class ability scores. This bonus is automatically determined by your class. So each class has 3 ability scores, 1 major, 2 minor. So this would give you a 4th. I mean, you'd get a +1 to something else. You know, let's say your class was a control wizard. So it's intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Those are the 3 ability scores that are required for a control wizard. Those are the good ones. So this would give you a +1 to dexterity, let's say, because that's a non-class ability score. So for the half-elf, you also get +2 to Constitution, either +2 charisma or wisdom, and you're naturally better at many facets of life. Deflection chance, critical severity, and gold bonus are each 1% higher than that of other races. Tiefling, they are they're a breed of demon. They're a crossbreed between humans and demons, and I'll just leave it at that. How's that? You deal an additional 5% damage to targets below half health. Grants +2 to charisma and either +2 to constitution or intelligence. And then when you receive damage, you have a 10% chance to apply internal wrath into your attacker for 5 seconds. This effect reduces the target's power by 5%. And last but not least, you have the drow or dro. Either is acceptable, because so many people say it either way. You get dark fire. When attacking a foe, you have a 5% chance to apply dark fire for 4 seconds. This effect reduces the target's defense by 10%. You get a +2 to dexterity and either charisma or wisdom, and you recover at campfires twice as quickly. Those are the available races. So we will just come up here and we'll pick our human buddy for now. Okay? Because we're moving on to classes. We'll start up at the top. Trickster Rogue is your thief class. He's fast. He's crazy with those daggers. And again, there are certain ability scores that are required for a Trickster Rogue. And you can see some of his sample, stealth, bait and switch, thievery. He can open any thief packs, and then bloodbath. These are all powers that are specific to the Trickster Rogue. Moving on to the Devoted Cleric. Some of his sample powers: Astral Change, Healing Word, Flame Strike, and he can open religion packs around the world. He is the healer of the party. Control Wizard. Control as in crowd control. That's what these guys are designed to do. Some of their sample powers are Magic Missile, Chill Strike. They can open Arcana packs around the world, and Arcane Singularity. The Hunter Ranger is one of the relatively new. I say relatively new. It's only been out a few years. It didn't come out with the original game. This is our Ranger class. It was something I wanted since the first day I tried the beta on PC for this game many moons ago. It's a very interesting class. It can take you in a lot of different directions. He has blades and a bow. So, again, a very cool class. But if you're not careful, you can be in the weeds really quickly. Because, you start devoting all your attention and resources into his bow stance, but then realize that when it comes down to it, you need armor penetration. Okay, so you got that. But then you get into a mob fight, and you can only shoot one arrow at a time. Well, actually, he has a, let's see, I'm not seeing it up here. It's called split shot, and he can fire 5 arrows at a time. But when you are swarmed, you need to break out your blades. Problem is, if you've been devoting to bow the whole time, then you're going to get your ass handed to you when you switch over to your blades. So you got to be careful. Scourge Warlock. This guy is, he's not subtlety. He is a damage dealer. He's tough, and he's got, he can help. I mean, he is a DPS, or damage per second. He's a hitter. And so he's a magic hitter. So Warlock Curse, Blood of Hadar, Vampiric Embrace, and of course he can open the Arcana packs as well. So he is the opposite side of our Control Wizard. Our Control Wizard is very DPS too, or can be. But the Scourge Warlock is just a whole different world. The Oathbound Paladin, he is a holy warrior. That's the best way to look at him. Some of his powers: Sanctuary, Divine Touch, Lay on Hands, and of course he can open religion packs. The Great Weapon Fighter, he is the two-handed weapon fighter. He carries no shield. He carries big-ass swords and battle axes and cool shit like that. And then our last is the Guardian Fighter. He always fights with a sword and shield, or a one-handed weapon and shield. And so he can block, which is the guard over here. And then he has Fighter's Recovery, Enforced Threat, where he can be... He's a tank. He's designed to take damage and take a lot of it. And then, of course, he opens up the Dungeoneering packs around the world, as well as the Great Weapon Fighter does as well. So those are the different classes. My suggestion to you, if you're going to pick a character for the first time, there are 5 that I would truly suggest for your first character, just to get to know the game. Trickster Rogue, Devoted Cleric, Control Wizard, and Great Weapon Fighter or Guardian Fighter. Those are the ones that I would suggest to you for your first character in Neverwinter. Simply because those are the ones that came with the original, that originally came with the game. Those were the classes. The others were all added later. These were designed for people that didn't know how to operate in this world. You may get into them 15 levels and go, not for me. That's cool. Figure that out early before you get too far in the game. You have a second character slot. You can start there. Once you find another character that you like better, you can bail on the first one. So, for, again, our character selection here, we're going to pick Guardian Fighter. Okay. Now, here is why I said this was all bass-ackwards. Because your ability scores now show us the purple one, where it says 18, is our primary ability for Guardian Fighter. Okay? But what if... So, Constitution is the primary. What if I pick Sun Elf, where they don't get a bonus to Constitution? Now I have to go back here to pick something... To pick a race that actually works with the class that I want. Okay, so we'll take the half-orc instead. Stay with the Guardian. Or now we're a Great Weapon Fighter. But now his Strength. See, now down here, the racial ability bonus, we can pick Dex and Con, or Dex and Strength. Okay, for a fighter, I'm going to say that Strength and Constitution are going to be the 2 that we want. So now we have to go back again and we want probably the dwarf, because the dwarf is going to offer us a constitution and a +2 to strength or wisdom. You will see a lot of dwarves running around as great weapon fighters because their abilities stack perfectly with the requirements, the ability score bonuses for the great weapon fighter. So we will leave it as the con and the strength. And now here you just, it's X on the Xbox One, which is the left blue button. I shouldn't say the blue button. And you can roll it. You want the highest. Obviously your primary, the purple one, you want it to be as high as you can go. 20 will be as high as you can go. Okay. To do that, that means that you have a 15 in Constitution, 13 Dexterity, and your Charisma you could give a rat's ass about. But, I pointed this out in another video, there's actually one better. Okay, 18, 12 is good. That's really good. There is a 19... Is it 1916? And you can sit here and manage this. Yeah, it is a 1916 is what it's supposed to be. There it is. 1916-13. If you added all the points together, you're actually getting one more point than the 2015. Because as you go up in points, then it's a ranked system. So the closer you get to 18, the more points it is required. So typically you get a 70-point roll. That's how they're working now in D&D. But this is actually like a 71. That's kind of the point. So this is going to give you the best run. Now, going through your ability scores real quick. Strength, obviously, measures your physical power. And since you're swinging a big sword, you want to have as much physical power. Constitution determines your health, stamina, and vital force. So that's why, again, it's very important for a great weapon fighter to have a high constitution. You would think everyone should have a high constitution, but there are more pressing needs for a wizard than there are for a fighter. Like your wisdom, or your charisma needs to be high for a control wizard. Okay, well, your intelligence primary, but then your charisma is secondary. Dexterity would be for a rogue. That's for the trickster rogue. That and the hunter ranger, dexterity is their #1 primary ability score because it measures hand-eye coordination, agility, reflexes, and balance. Intelligence obviously describes how your character learns and reasons. Wisdom measures common sense, perception, self-discipline, and empathy. And charisma measures your force, personality, persuasiveness, and leadership. So we're going to go ahead and stick with the 1916-13. I'm not keeping this character anyway. And then you get into the presets. And you can hide the armor just so you can see what his beard actually looks like, because you may lose it, like that one there. You're like, what the hell is that? So you can do that, and that's just by pressing in on the right stick. You can move up and down on the right stick to zoom in and out and rotate him around. He looks pretty cool. I'm going to go with, I want that beard. Oh, maybe this beard here. See, you kind of lose it a little bit there. All right, we're going to go with this crazy beard here. But I do like the mohawk. So we're going to pick that as our preset, but then you can come in here and adjust all this stuff. So we're going to come back up here to hair. And we're going to find that mohawk. It's probably down at the bottom. Ponytails. I mean, and of course, this is your own personal preference. This is how you can truly customize your character to... yeah, that looks funny. Or we could go wild. We could go faux hawk. No, we want a straight up mohawk. There it is. And then we want to change the color on it, and we want to make it we'll make it black. As black as we can get it anyway, right? And then okay, so now we're gonna get out of here, and we'll come down here to facial hair, and we like our big beard. But we're going to change its color to something else crazy. Let's just go with like white. There you go. He looks really goofy. But that's our character. And you can come in here and change the shape of him. You can make him a big pudgy bastard. You can make him thin, which would be really weird, a thin dwarf. I mean, not that he's not muscular, but so we'll stick with tone. We could make his shoulders even wider, make his chest even wider. We could make his chest stick out more. And we could make his waist really thin. And we could make his waist depth very thin. But let's get into something. Leg length. We can make him taller. Make his legs really thick. And then if we wanted a little bit more height, we could increase his feet thickness. And he gets just a hair taller. Anyway, all right, so there we are. We're done with our character. And he is going to be fighting for Tempest, because Tempest is the god of battle. Okay, picking a god has no effect on your gameplay. None whatsoever. Then again, neither does your looks. But, I mean, that's your character. So we're going to pick Tempest. And then now we can pick our background. We can say that he is from... And these are all places within Forgotten Realms. We'll say that he is from... where do we want to put him from? He's from Baldur's Gate. And he was a worldly swashbuckler or flaming fist mercenary. Let's go with a flaming fist mercenary. It makes sense, right? And we're going to name this guy... Badass. Oh, not Badad. Badass. There we go. Profanity not allowed. Okay, we can't name him Badass. We're going to name him... Dwarf Killer. How's that then? He kills his own kind. That is it for your character creation, folks. So, if you have any questions, comments, kicks, or complaints, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below. I imagine that some of you probably will. I will be more than happy to go through in greater detail, answer more questions and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep these videos kind of short. Don't want them to be too overwhelming. And I hope that someone was just tooling around and they happened upon this video and they go, wow, I'm going to check out this Neverwinter game because this Draco guy sure knows what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, what the heck I'm talking about. Sorry, I said no profanity. What the heck I'm talking about. So yeah, that is going to do it for this episode, Dungeon Divers. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, take care of yourselves out there. This is Draco Invictus saying this has been the greatest day in my life. See ya!